For now, let's see what our investors have to say about the future and the opportunities they see in a really changed economic landscape. I'm very pleased to have with us Fritz Demopoulos, CEO, Queen's Road Capital, who's going to moderate the panel, Dr. Christian Saller, General Partner at HV Holtzbrinck Ventures, Franklin from Google, Greater China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. And we have Amit Anand, founding partner from Jungle Ventures. Over to you, Fritz.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks again. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Soo-Hoon, thank you for organizing this, and thanks again to the sponsors for supporting this event. We have three amazing financial experts, and we live in unprecedented times, as Tao mentioned yesterday. And sometimes when we live in these difficult periods, we need to talk to the financial experts. And we have three accomplished investors and entrepreneurs on the panel today. And so I want to kick it off with Amit. Many of you know him. He's the founding partner of Jungle Ventures. He's invested in a number of successful travel companies, including Voyagin, which was acquired by Rakuten, Travel Mob, which was acquired by HomeAway. And he's an investor in Red Doors. And he's recently just had a great exit by selling TradeGecko to Intuit. Amit, I was reading in your bio that you've invested in over 400 deals as an angel investor and as a venture capitalist, and you've seen a lot of cycles, you've seen a lot of ups and downs. Is the volatility we're seeing today, is it easy for you to deal with? No big deal? Or is this something that you're a little bit more concerned than normal?
Thanks, Fritz, for the kind words, and our friends at WiT for having me over again. It's again, like you said, it's really great to see the sponsors and partners continue to support this great platform that I have benefited personally a lot from. A quick correction, obviously, it's not 400 companies that I have invested in, but the angel group that I was the vice chairman for, we ended up investing in over 400 companies. So just a clarification there. And to your specific question, I think, Fritz, I have lived through two crises before this. One as an employee and the second one as a founder. And both the learnings shaped my philosophies as an investor. And one of the reasons why Jungle from day one had a very strong focus on margins before scale, profitability, concentrated portfolio. We write only 4 to 5 investments a year. Was that the big learnings from the crisis was that if you have customers which are sticky, which pay you good margins, if you do have great cost structures that can be agile during a scenario like this, then you have the most likely chance of surviving and then eventually thriving from the crisis. And so certainly while the crisis seems to be bigger and badder than anything we've seen before, I think the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs, investors have been through crisis before, I also think the rebound from this crisis is going to be significantly faster, because there's a lot of learnings we've all had and have implemented across the portfolio.
Hey, Amit, I'm actually really glad you mentioned agile and customers. Those are two themes that we hear a lot about in board meetings. Hey, Christian or Dr. Zahler, first of all, thank you for calling in from Germany. For people who don't know, Christian, he founded a company that was sold to Kayak called Sudo. And he was an early angel investor in Get Your Guide, which is Tao Tao's company. And he's an accomplished investor as a venture capitalist. And he invested in a number of very successful travel companies, including Dreamlines, Tourlane, and Flixbus. And what I thought was amazing is that his wife is also in the travel industry. So Christian just can't get enough of it. It's just really weird. So, hey, so Christian, so tell us about a little bit what Amit said. He was saying, hey, companies need to focus on customers. They need to be agile. So what do you think about that? Is that what you're seeing in Europe for the successful companies in your portfolio?
Well, first of all, great to be here. Good morning from Germany. It's a pleasure to be invited, and Fritz, thank you for the invitation. I mean, as Emir said, these are really like very, very unprecedented times, and I think the big difference we have in this crisis from everything I've seen before, at least, is that somehow like demands in some of my companies just vanished from one day to the other. So like in a normal crisis, you maybe see that demand goes down by 10, 20, 30% or so, but I've never seen demand going down by 90%, even 100% within weeks. And I think that was really the thing that was special about this crisis, and that in the end, at the beginning, took sort of a lot of effort to adjust to. And I think neither the CEOs of the companies we invested in nor us as investors in the beginning really knew how to deal with it. So I remember the first couple of weeks as like being really Zoom conferences around the clock to get to an agreement how to adjust in this situation. I think like if I take the long-term view as an investor, and I have to take the long-term view, I'm very optimistic, and I think everything will be fine. And the question is how long is the period in between? And well, what I'm telling my companies right now, it's maybe a little different from what Amit said, because I think customer focus is important and is always important for a company. But at this time, it's more about really being flexible in adjusting to the situation and being able to sort of preserve cash as much as possible, use opportunities, but then also scale down again if necessary. And to give you one example, in one of my companies, one of my companies is selling like individual travel packages, and for a couple of weeks, Iceland was a big thing, and they've never sold a lot of packages to Iceland before, but Iceland was one of the first countries to open up, and suddenly everyone was traveling to Iceland. But then Iceland shut down again because they had a corona outbreak, and so Iceland was over. And I think it's like super important during this intermediate periods, which I hope is like maybe a year or two, to be able to react very fast to these like changes in the marketplace.
So for those of you who don't know, Iceland is like the Singapore of the Nordics. It's this little island that's super rich people and think they know everything. I'm just kidding. Hey, Frank, I've known you for many years. Every time I talk to you, I'm very intimidated because you have the amazing pedigree of McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, and of course, Google. And I remember when you and I were in Beijing and we were brainstorming, kind of with the Google team about investment opportunities. And, you do a lot in China and North Asia, and China seems to be the gold standard in many ways. It's extremely stable. What are you seeing in China? Give us a sense of, are companies back to normal, or are they still trying to conserve cash? Are they agile, focus on customers? So what's happening? Give us your sense.
Well, first of all, Fritz, I'm the one that's intimidated when I speak to you. So, but I think it's quite exciting what's going on in China. In fact, I don't feel like China has been impacted as much as one would expect. By the way, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I think when you look at China, I think what is amazing is that 10 years ago, people look in Silicon Valley and they think Valley is where the innovations are coming from. But if you come to China, I feel like China is now a part of the epicenter where the innovations are stemming from. In fact, a lot of companies in the US are trying to emulate what people do in China. I mean, the least of which is the whole short form video phenomena. I mean, that whole thing came from China and has emanated to the rest of the world, right? And you look at on-demand food delivery, grocery delivery, you look at payments. All those are innovations. I think China is now leading the world. And then, of course, we're in this very intricate environment where the whole China GDP seems like the only major economy that's still growing, and it's catching up, gradually to that of the U.S. So whenever you have a big economic power that's catching up to the prime economic superpower, there's always very delicate situation that happens. And when you have companies fueled by innovation in China to help further strengthen that image, I think it's quite exciting what's going on here. But of course, it's also a bit destabilizing what's going on globally from a geopolitical perspective.
Right, that's the geopolitical conference we have to go to, right? If we want to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Amit, you're looking at a lot of companies. You're in the middle of Southeast Asia. Singapore's the hub for investment in the region. 600 million, consumers, lots of countries. Are there any industries or categories that have surprised you during the last couple of months in terms of their traction and kind of successes?
Yeah, I was looking at the audience poll that was put up before, and what was surprising to me, or rather not surprising to me initially, was the mention of ed tech and health tech. Those are definitely industries that are having their moment of glory. Suddenly each company that is in the ed tech or health tech space is seeing 10x growth or 100x growth in adoption. So that didn't surprise me as much. That's something that we're seeing at the ground level. What I thought was missing from that list was really the entertainment industry. We don't pay as much attention to the fact that, people are now more indoors than they are outdoors. And the just sheer nature of where they're spending time and what they want to do. And, now they are sort of more alone than they are in their friend circles, or they are with their families more than they were before. So there's so much of changing behavior happening on the entertainment side that's something that I feel a lot of investors, entrepreneurs are not paying enough attention, but we are seeing companies in gaming, in entertainment that are just showing some astronomical engagement levels. And so certainly I would add that to the list in terms of innovation for the next 2-3 years, more business models, more ideas, more talent.
So do you wish you kept your Indian animation company?
Content is king. They've always said that. I just couldn't see it through to a point where I could reap the rewards of that kingdom. But we do have an animation investment in Singapore. It's a company called One Animation, and they are now 3 times nominated for Emmys for their cross-format show called Oddboards. In fact, there are theme parks in China on that show. So certainly we've put money where our mouth is.
Excellent. Hey, Christian, what's the last deal you guys have done? Have you guys done a deal during the crisis? Give us a sense.
Yeah. So when the crisis hit, I would say the first 6 to 8 weeks, it was very quiet, not only at our fund, but in general in Europe. So I think most of the deals that were past the term sheet stage still got completed, but nothing new happened for 6 to 8 weeks. But then, as everyone realized that sort of the world is not going under, and that there will be a time after that, things became very busy again. And we've done like 5 deals over the last 2 months or so. So we've actually caught up to what we missed in the sort of tough Corona times. The latest deal we've done and that we've announced is an ed tech company, education tech. This does fit in the sort of whole Corona picture. It's basically a platform that allows students to learn from home and to complement what they learn at school from home. So I think this is an area that fits very well into the whole environment right now. On the other hand, we haven't done any travel deals, and I don't think we will be doing travel deals over the next couple of months. This is still sort of too far out. But otherwise, I think we are pretty much open to everything else again, as it was before the crisis.
Yeah, but aren't you the travel guy in Europe?
Yes, and I get a lot of proposals right now from travel companies. I'm still holding off a little bit, and again, I mean, it's if I would find like a really great company that I'm totally excited about, I would still consider doing it because long term, I believe it will return. It's just so difficult to assess how long it will take, and funding a company that potentially might not have any revenues or very little revenues for the next 2 years or so is a difficult proposition as a new investor.
Christian, this is Frank. As a follow-up to that question, I mean, if you were a contrarian investor, would this be a good time to be investing in travel companies, or do you think it's still too early and too cloudy?
In theory, I think you're right, and I mean we've seen these deals on a big scale, like Silver Lake investing in Airbnb, for example, which I think will turn out to be a great deal for them. I think the problem is really to sort of assess how long it will take, and therefore to find a valuation that fits. And what I'm seeing right now is that usually founders and companies are more optimistic than I am, and that makes it difficult to agree on valuation.
Maybe I can jump in here quickly, Frank and Christian. I think from our perspective, very similar to Christian, I think it's been hard to call opportunities on the travel sector, and I don't think it's for a lack of intent. As Christian mentioned, we are all very optimistic about the long-term potential. Travel continues to be a space. It's just that it's very hard right now to understand customer behavior. And if you're investing in companies which need to demonstrate product market fit or go-to-market fit, there isn't just anything to go by. I mean, there's literally no data to support. And so you're really looking for a very long, prolonged period of not exactly knowing whether the product is going to be bought by customers or the channels are working. And so the way at least I would look at it, and I continue to look at it, is I'm pretty excited about investing even in travel, but I would invest in companies where they need to invest the next 1 year in product development. It's the best time to go and build something crazy, invest, keep it low burn hopefully, but invest time, effort, capital in building a product that even beyond COVID is going to sustain, it's going to be there. That's something maybe will excite, an investor, but anything that requires market feedback, it's very hard for anyone to really know which way it's going until it starts to move.
Hey, Amit, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that come to WiT and they listen and they're very much looking forward to this panel. And I'm just curious, are you saying that CEOs and founders, they need to really get down and spend time thinking about more product-oriented programs and not try to spin their heels trying to get traction? Is that kind of is that what you're looking for?
I think that's exactly right, Fritz. One of the biggest learnings I've had from my, as I said, 2 downturns that have been part of it is that you need to be able to call a spade a spade. And I think one of the challenges I see with investors out here is that they are not having frank conversations with entrepreneurs around how unpredictable the environment around travel is. And the reality, as we heard with Iceland, is it's here today but gone tomorrow. And so that agility, the flexibility to move with the customer to make sure you are still servicing the customer is one part of it. But the other part is that if you can afford, if you do have the luxury of investor support, then or cash flow support, then I would invest all the time and effort in building product, in making sure that when the floodgates open, from all the 10,000 fish that are waiting to get back into the stream, you're the first ones out of the gate. And that's what we are advising everybody from Red Doors to other companies, not just in travel.
See, Soo-Hoon, it wasn't pigs. It's actually fish. So just keep in mind. I think we got the analogy wrong. We have all these fish running, swimming, I guess.
In Southeast Asia, given with all the ocean around us, I think fish is much better.
Right.
And maybe to add to what Amit just said, there's very few travel companies sort of in the alternative accommodation space that are actually benefiting from this right now. And for them, of course, like it's super important and super impressive as investors to see what traction they have. But for everyone else, I mean, all other companies I know are somewhere between like 10 to 40% they were last year. And I think it really doesn't matter, like whether you're at 20 or 25 or 30%. This doesn't show anything about your company and your success right now. So instead of trying to chase the next 5% or so in the recovery, I think it's much more important to actually invest in the product and hunker down and make sure that you come out of that stronger.
Hey, Frank, how does Google think about all this? I know you guys put a lot of capital to work. Sometimes the check size is a little bit bigger than what we're accustomed to. Can you just give us a sense? Do you think Google is contrarian, or are you guys just taking super long-term view and this is a bump in the road? How do you guys think about it from an investment perspective?
Yeah, well, we definitely take a long-term perspective. We think there's a lot of changes to be had in the next 10 years. There are more changes to be had in the next 10 years than the last 30 years. We do feel that it's harder to do deals because there's a gap, as Christian and Amit mentioned, between what the founders are looking for and what we believe the market is should be able to bear, right? And that always makes the deal making a bit more difficult. And thus, we have seen deals with more creative structures rather than the plain, Series A, Series B kind of structure. We're seeing more convertible notes with a discount, that type of structure. But we do believe that, if you look at there's the short-term debt cycle and there's a long-term debt cycle, right? I think from a long-term perspective, we believe productivity and the continuing increased productivity will be good for the tech industry in general. But in the short term, unfortunately, when you see what's going on in the world, it's not clear how the next 12 years will look like for startups and companies. Obviously, we've seen surprises when companies in SaaS and collaboration have done well, but there are also surprises where you see other companies that you thought wouldn't be doing so well, and yet at least their stock price is doing decent, right? So it's really hard to make sense of all this right now. But we're overall optimistic for a long-term perspective. But more importantly, Fritz, to your question, given that we always look at technology as a core enabler for all the different segments, I would actually love to hear Christian and Amit your view, and of course, Fritz, your view as well, as to how the travel industry could benefit from a more of a tech play than what we currently see. My naive observation is that the tech industry hasn't really seen a lot of groundbreaking innovations like what we have seen in entertainment, in browsing and feeds, short form video. So do you guys see any step function in innovation, in improvement on the travel segment?
At least from a deal flow perspective, I don't see that happening right now, Frank.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would admit though is I do feel that travel, the lines are getting blurred with a couple of industries. Definitely entertainment, definitely hospitality. So I think that's going to be one trend to continue to watch for, is whether companies are only travel or they are travel, entertainment, hospitality, all kind of bundled together in general. But I would say, at least in our current pipeline in Southeast Asia and India, I wouldn't say that there's a lot more of innovation that I'm hearing about. Not at least.
I maybe think about two things that are happening, but probably more in the background. One is I think the hotel experience is being changed, and this was already going on before, but it is moving faster now. things like, I mean, you go to a hotel and you stand in line for 15 minutes and then you check in. It's just like totally outdated. And there were, even before COVID, there were companies trying to change these things, but they didn't get a lot of uptake because the company was just so, the industry was so set in their ways. And I think that is happening. And then the other thing is, I think one big mega trend that's also getting stronger right now is that people want to travel more individual. So instead of, as a European, going to Spain to a big hotel like everyone else, they want to have like very individual and memorable experiences.
Hey, Christian, you know, you're obviously based in Europe. I know it's a collection of countries, but, you know, give us a sense out in Asia, you know, what can we learn from Europe during this crisis?
Amazed me most was that I have the feeling there's a tremendous sort of desire within people to travel and to get back to go out and to see new things and experience new things. So the example I gave before with Iceland, like I think no one was traveling to Iceland before really, and then Iceland was the only country where you could travel, and suddenly everyone was going to Iceland instead of staying at home. So I'm actually longer term very optimistic that as soon as it will be possible again, that the whole industry will be coming back.
See, everyone, Christian loves Iceland, apparently. Hey, Frank, you spend a lot of time in China. I know you and I have brainstormed a lot about opportunities in mainland China. You know, what can we as a travel industry learn from some of the key things we're seeing in mainland China?
Well, I think, first of all, China is really leading a lot of the consumer innovations, not so much on the enterprise side, but on the consumer side, it's quite amazing. In fact, if you look at a lot of going back to what Amit and Christian were talking about on the innovation on hotel side, right? A lot of the hotels in China are becoming more and more fully automated. And it's really, I believe it's leading the world in that regard. But if you look at a lot of what China is doing, whether on the POS machine, integrating payments with their social network, enabling or infusing machine learning onto algorithms to better offer content to their users. The content could be services, could be products, could be just short-form video. I think those are things that China is leading the world in applying those technology. And that, I think, is quite innovative, and that's something the world should take a closer look at. But if you look at other parts of North Asia, like Japan and Taiwan, I think what they're really good at, especially Japan, is on the software as a service side. I mean, look at a lot of the IPOs that has been taking place in Japan, the SaaS companies. They're doing tremendously well. They don't have the explosive growth of the consumer place. But then if you look at the cash flow, look at the steadiness of the revenue growth, it's quite stable, and the future is pretty good for those companies as well. I'll pause there, and I'd love to talk more, but I do want to make sure Amit gets to talk about his part of the world as well.
Frank, thanks. Hey, Amit, you know, Southeast Asia is massive, 600 million potential consumers. You're in the middle of it. You've had great success. You know, what can we learn as a travel industry from what you're seeing in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, one of the biggest learnings for me personally, as we started Jungle to focus on the new Southeast Asia, the digital Southeast Asia, was that we have to unlearn a lot of what we know about Southeast Asia, which is, it's 10, 11 countries, different cultures, different languages, different social demographics, different political environment. What's been fascinating to see over the last 10 years is that this new millennial plus Southeast Asia, which is roughly about 300 million of them in the region, are behaving so differently from their predecessors and are behaving so much like each other that companies like Red Doors, Travel Mob, and many others across our industries are city to 20, 30 cities in less than 2 years. They're crossing into 6, 7 countries in less than 2 years, and that's been unseen before. So we are, from that perspective, Southeast Asia is very unique. It's diverse, but it's converging very rapidly. It's very underpenetrated, underserved. I think for the next 10 years, if you're in the consumer internet business, if you're in the business of personalization of consumer experiences, I think Southeast Asia will be a hotbed for both as a market, but also as an entrepreneurial activity picks up in that. So I think the market opportunity and how unique it is probably something that continues to amaze me every day about Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it's certainly a vibrant place. I think I know we only have a few more minutes, and we have an audience, as I mentioned. Some are entrepreneurs, some are just starting out in their careers and all that sort of stuff. I just want to ask the three of you. I mean, all of you meet smart people all the time, and you're reading great books and podcasts and stuff like that. If you can share with us, over the last year, tell us about one super smart person you've met and what you've learned from them. And, let's start with Amit, then we'll go to Christian, and Frank, you can finish it off.
I was hoping you'll give me some time to think. But no, certainly, I think, a very smart entrepreneur told me once that you got to focus on where the market is going to be next and not where the market is here. And I'm very happy to actually even quote this entrepreneur. This is a founder of a business called Builder.ai. And essentially what they as a team have realized is digital transformation is, no longer an option. It's something that people have to do right now, or maybe even yesterday. But I think the demand versus supply equation there is like for every 40,000 people that want to build an app, there's one developer in the world. And so until kind of software automation kicks in, nobody's going to be able to fulfill the promise of digital transformation. And this guy has been building on this promise for the last 4 years, for exactly the time that he's living right now. And that fascinated me a lot, thinking about where, and as a travel industry, this is something that we probably